Welcome to Hiccups and Hot Flashes, where every hiccup is a hidden gift and every hot flash a power move. We're your hosts. I'm Dannie, a certified body mind life coach.
I'm Dori, a trauma-informed midlife resilience coach.
And I'm Kim, a self-sovereignty coach.
We're three coaches, two moms, and one single gal who all love human design and have real conversations about navigating midlife transitions with awareness, resilience, fresh perspectives, and a mission to give voice to the voiceless. Let's get into it.
Okay, hey everyone. Welcome back to Hiccups and Hot Flashes. I'm Kim, and with me are my two co-hosts, Dori and
Dori.
Dannie. Yes, thank you. Okay, so you know what? We have a lot to talk about today, so I'm just going to get into it. Today, we are talking about resiliency, being resilient. Or the concept of resiliency when you're looking at it through a personal lens that's been shaped by your unique experience. So we're going to get into what resiliency is, how we define it, what it looks like in real life, and then we're also going to get into the arc of resiliency. We're going to talk about 10 key points. Resiliency, what does it mean? I can tell you what it's not first. Resiliency is not about bouncing back to who you were before. It's not about pretending everything is fine. It's definitely not about being strong all the time. What it is adapting and growing through disruption, disconnection, and it's finding new ways to flow when the old ways kind of are blocked. So I just want to okay, life has hiccups, right? So I want to kind of call out three different kinds. Interference, which is those external forces that really knock us off course. They can be anything that knocks you off course. It can be big, it can be small. Then there's also disconnection, when we lose touch with our values, with our relationship, and most importantly, our sense of self and our identity. And then there's disruption. These are major life changes that force us to rebuild. It can be a disruption that we have no control over. It can be an intentional disruption where we're just like something we don't like where we're at and we need to change it. But those are kind of life's hiccups. So, getting into this conversation, I want to ask you guys, what are your thoughts on, I guess, the concept of resiliency? Have you ever had to be strong all the time or felt like you had to keep telling yourself, everything is fine, it's going to be fine, don't worry about it, I got this, when you know you didn't? Can't hear you.
I thought I unmuted it. Sorry, I must have muted it. Are you saying that in terms of um, when you say uh, too strong? Too strong. What is it?
Yeah. Okay.
We're
So
having to be stronger. Are you saying that in like that is not resilient? How do I feel about that?
yeah. So okay. How do I put this? The strong Black woman, right? I know y'all learned that, but you get the concept. It's always, oh, we have to be the strong ones. We have to take care of and nurture. We're holding everyone all on our shoulders. We're carrying the weight. We have to be strong because it means we're resilient. We can get through a lot of stuff. And lately, over the past couple of years, or maybe more, it's like, no, we're tired. We don't want to be the strong ones. Let someone else do it. Um, but it's still that nurturing aspect, and also how we're seeing we think we have to do something because it's been embedded and programmed into how we live our lives and what makes us continue and do that grinding thing. So that's what I mean by being
So we're
strong.
talking about, yeah, conditioning,
Mm-hmm.
conditioned to be strong.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yes, absolutely. That has been a thing for me. That's been a theme in my life. I It has led to a lot of health issues for me. Um, so yeah, I can totally relate to that idea and feeling like uh something's got to give
Mm-hmm.
and it can't be me. Like meaning I can't self-betray like this anymore.
Yeah. Um, I guess what is my question? I'm wondering how, before you knew you couldn't self-betray yourself,
Mm.
did you really think pushing through, being the strong one or whatever you said to yourself was the only way to get to achieve that end goal?
The only way,
One of the ways?
I think it's all I knew. Even though, and I think there's a sense of like not being really honest with myself, thinking that this is okay. I remember, let's see, I was probably about late 30s. So I'm 49 now. And it's just over a decade ago when I remember I started having thoughts about, I need to start taking care of my body because I'm kind of getting to that stage in life where my it's going to matter that I took care of my body. And yet I didn't know what that looked like. It had not necessarily been modeled for me. And because like I knew all the right answers, how to take care of your body, but I had not, I didn't have any awareness around how your thoughts impact what
Mhm.
happens to your body and how that nervous system, um, what's the word I'm looking for? Like how nervous system being on overdrive, how that needed to be looked at and taken. I needed to just take a hard right turn. And I think there are some things that we don't, um, I guess I'm not necessarily older, but in my older age, I have adult kids and I'm watching them repeat patterns that I have lived already. I'm realizing like, nobody teaches you how, or this doesn't come naturally to you. This is something that has to be learned. Resiliency does need to be learned. I think that there are some people who are they're like inherently resilient. It's intrinsic and it's just there. And some people it's not quite so natural for them. Um, but it's still a skill that gets to be learned,
Mhm.
and I don't know. So those are the thoughts that are coming to my mind. That was my experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that resilience piece. Interesting. My experience was that I became a mom at 19, and I feel like I got shoved into this like, okay, here is the real world, and now you have another human to make sure that they stay alive, and you've got this relationship and all of these things. And so for me, I interpreted this meaning of resilience that meant that I had to push, I had to put people in front of me, I had to meet other people's needs, and I was the only one that could do it. I had to do it all by myself. And I had to like take a licking and keep on ticking kind of thing. I just had to
Mhm.
get up every single morning, no matter what. And what that often means is to neglect your body, neglect your mental, emotional, physical, spiritual self.
Mhm.
And that is a slow death. And just
Mhm.
like you, it created many health problems for me. I literally burned out. Like I just didn't have it anymore. And I was confused, like, what is going on here? And so that idea of being strong and resilient, I had to completely reframe what resilience was for me. And what that is now is getting that nervous system to a baseline, to a regulated space so that I can begin to listen, so that I can begin to understand where I push, where I hold still, where, navigating in a sensitive, intentional way versus kind of just getting my ass kicked by life like a pinball. And like that was how I was living. And so with this idea of resilience, it's more like, okay, I'm going to push up against that edge and I feel it there and it's uncomfortable and I'm going to stay there. I'm going to be in it and I'm going to let it expand. I'm going to let those edges expand that whole container that I have. And then I have space to kind of move into what else can be true for me. And there's something different about that form of resilience, feeling more calm, centered, anchored. Yes, there's some discomfort, but I know that that's part of the process, not the whole process. And then having that contrast, like that experience of knowing, okay, I have been here and now this is how I'm working with resilience and what feels best moving forward, like more supportive for me.
Yeah.
I actually really, oh, go ahead,
No,
Kim.
go ahead. Nope, nope, you go.
I really love what you were talking about there as far as like this is so I have this like this motto, like you do what you do because of who you are. And a lot of who we are is what we know. Like, that comes from what we know. And so as I sat there listening to you, I was thinking about my own experiences with that. And for me, the thing that I know about myself is that I am a resilient person. Like I just am. I'm a fighter. I am um I, tell me no and I'll show you a yes, kind of a thing. So, and that's not necessarily a good thing when like talk about being strong, right? Like there is a time and a place for these things. But for me, it is as I sat there listening to you, I was thinking about how the like my personality is to jump out of a plane without looking, like metaphorically speaking, jump out of a plane, don't even check to see if I've got a parachute. I'm not looking to see if I've got gear or did I bring water and food with me? Oh no, I'm just out there going for it. And that's my personality. And there's been a lot of trial and error in that, a lot. Sometimes,
I have
like
something to say about that, but okay, go ahead.
like my people are very patient with me because it has brought on a lot of like exciting experiences for anyone else who was along for the ride. And so that kind of goes back to like I was resilient and I was also maybe like, you know,
Reckless.
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 Yeah, but I only with hindsight, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So looking back and going, oh, well, yeah, there were 1,000 other ways I could have done that, but
Mhm.
realizing like, okay, but those experiences also helped me realize I will get up and try this again, and I do remember going through a period of time where because of the health issues, I had fallen hard enough and fast enough and intensely enough that I couldn't get back up and try it
Mhm.
again. So, yeah, and I'm still kind of coming out of that
Yeah. My
stupidity.
my oof, mm, my life hiccup is it came about through disconnection. You said we do what we do because of who we are. Um I kind of I did what I did because of who people wanted me to be.
Mm,
Actually, I'm going to change that because I did what I did because of who I wanted people to see me and know me to be, how to be. It wasn't even about them. It was really about me and my reputation. And it was, I want you to see me in the way that I know I can be seen, and bless you and all of that. Bless you. Bless you, bless you. But I lost touch with myself, and it was no one's fault but my own. But I just wanted to help everybody else. I was the one everyone came, to for advice and solutions and Mrs. Fix It type of things. And it was great. Um, but whether they were venting, everything, it was just like, and then when it came to me, I just said, okay, not worried about that. I didn't have a me, all of that stuff. And so eventually I started losing touch with who I was. It's like I knew who I was, but I was no longer confident and I had no boundaries. So it was like I was just kind of there, being there for everyone else except for me. So that wasn't being resilient, even though I probably thought it was. Like, oh, look, I made it through, and this tough part or this challenge, I got it, I did it, and eventually all of that stuff, you know, uh, decided to show up one day and tell me I was wrong and tell me there's another way to do this. And where I see that I'm resilient is having gone through that and come out on the other side, not to, crossing the finish line, just, be one and done, but I crossed the finish line, ran another race, crossed that finish line, had to run again until, there's always going to be these finish lines, probably for the rest of my life. But the hardest part is already over, it's past, and I've learned something along the way. So every time a new race starts, a new challenge, is shown to me, I I know what to do differently. So that's how I see my resilience.
Yeah, I want to push back just a tiny bit on the like maybe I misunderstood you. Um, so first of all, I love the concept and I totally can see what you're saying. There's just one piece where it sounded like you were saying, so I did that wrong. And in my mind, I was asking myself, is there a wrong way to do resiliency? Or is there just a way that's more aligned with who you are? Like, even if it's not aligned with you, does that mean it's wrong?
Um,
Does that
right,
make
I guess
sense?
it doesn't. So there's you could say there's no wrong way to do things because you're learning. So I think when
I mean,
I
there's
don't even
wrong,
there's
but yeah,
wrong.
yeah.
I don't remember actually what I said about, I did it wrong. But there's a lot of trial and error in my life
Mhm.
growing up that I didn't recognize as trial and error. I was just like,
Mm,
oh, I'm cursed. There's something wrong with me. I can do the same thing that, two other people do, and it's fine for them. But I'm always struggling. I'm always pushing, like, it does not work. It does not work. And so I've had to go through that. And I probably did see that, okay, I did it wrong. Or because it wasn't right. It didn't work out, I should say. It did not, I didn't get to what I needed to get. And then I would do it over and do it over. And, then it would be fine. Um, but I had to, and that's where that resiliency of not quitting. It's like, oh, I have to try, make sure, do it again until I'm happy with it. So even it got to the point where even if someone was like, oh, but is it really? I'm like, yes, it's fine. I'm done. I've gotten enough out of it to where I can move on. I don't need to keep doing things to make sure that it's okay with you. So I went through that whole process. So whether I early on thought I did this wrong, that was my immature thinking, my young way of thinking. But now, yeah, I could say that wasn't the best way. And maybe it was quote wrong, but I learned something from it. So I still got something out of it.
yeah. So I thank you for sharing. Um I got permission to share this story. I'm not gonna share who it's about, but I did get permission. The other day I was having a conversation, and this speaks to what you're saying because I think this is really important when it comes to this resiliency piece. Like we learn how to do resilience better, and all that means is we're doing it more aligned with who we are.
Mm-hmm.
So this conversation I was having the other day was with someone that I care very much about, and they're going through a really really rough time, really rough time. They've just kind of they got some pretty crappy news the other day, and it feels like a pretty big setback for them. Like I'm looking at it going, oh, what a great growth opportunity. But for them, they feel like it's a setback. And they feel like this has been a theme in their life. Like, why does this keep happening? And so that's where that conversation started was, why does this keep happening? What is wrong with me? What is wrong with me? Why can't I dot, 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 dot? And it wasn't like I'm beating myself up. Like it was like right before the spiral, right? And the questions were starting to be asked, and I could see where this conversation was going to go if I, inside their head, if I just left them in that space. And I was trying to figure out like um, it's not so much like what does this person need to hear, but I was like, I don't agree with anything this person is saying. And so I just uh I said, you might have a problem that needs to be solved. Like you might have a problem in your life that needs a solution, but that does not mean that you are the problem. And when I hear people talking about like they think they're the problem, there's something wrong with them and they need to change something about themselves, like something about their existence here on the earth. They need to shrink a little or they need to show up differently to appease other people. I'm like, that's shame. And then after a while, you'll get tired. You won't like the shame will get so overwhelming that it will turn to blame.
Mm.
And I I could see that this was happening. And the bottom line is like, you'll either go into shame or blame when you go into that, like, I'm the problem. There's something wrong with my existence. And I'm not saying that this is what you were saying. It just reminded me of this story. And, anyways, we just talked about how when we go into that space of what do I need to change about who I am, my authentic self, how do I rewire myself to be what everyone else wants? Like, really, what you're doing is you're pulling yourself out of alignment in that space. And when the solution is actually just being more of you, because the solution is within you, right? The further you get away from who you are, the less you're going to be able to solve the problem that you're trying to solve. But the more you can be you, which might mean people around you might not love it, but that's okay. Anyways, but as I sat there listening to this person, I was like, they, the fact that they just kept getting up over and over and over again, even if it was with an attitude of what's wrong with me, I could see their resilience, and it just took that small, like Dannie was saying, just the reframe of, whoa, 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 you're not the problem. You have a problem that needs a solution. But that doesn't mean that you yourself are the problem. So
That's such a great point. I think that when you're doing the inner transformation pieces and you're regulating and you're getting support and you're trying to reconnect, it is resilience to keep returning to yourself over and over and over again, kind of on that spiral where it's like, okay, here I am. And now I've hit a growth edge and it feels like I'm here again, but then I'm returning to myself and it's expanding each and every time that you do that. And I think that's been a huge part of resilience for me, is to just keep returning to that, because resilience can show up, like you said, like, what do I need to adapt to these outside, these external stimulus, whatever, like what people are asking, or who do I need to be and how do I need to change, versus diving so much deeper into ourselves, like coming even more deep into the core of who we are. And I think that's a big part of resilience, because I have also fallen into that, like giving it up, shrinking. How do I need to change, adjust, appease? And ultimately, that leads to a lot more dysregulation and a lot more pain and suffering, really. It doesn't build skills.
Yeah. So, it's like being resilient or becoming resilient isn't just a thing that shows up. It's a whole journey that we have to move through, that everyone has to move through. Which brings me to our Arc of Resilience, Arc of Resiliency. These are 10 touch points that, map out, kind of have a very clear through line from showing our natural inner to outer transformation, which is, that through line looks like disruption, awareness, support, self-reclamation, alignment, emergence, and then there's the embodied resilience. So I'm just going to really quickly kind of run through the inner transformation, the things that we kind of go through. And it starts with the initial disruption. Sudden loss, trauma, illness, burnout, all of that stuff, that feeling of falling apart or losing yourself, losing your identity. There's emotional and nervous system dysregulation, fight, flight, freeze, or fawn responses. Then there's, the third one is the turning point, recognition. So this is realizing something has to change. You get inspired, you have sudden awareness that you like, okay, I need to heal from this, or I need to change this. And then there's seeking support. That's number 4. Gathering the tools that's necessary, going to therapy, seeing a coach, getting somatic work done, finding spiritual practices. And then there's a reconnection to self, which is you reclaiming your identity, your voice, and your values, and developing those healthy boundaries. So let's talk about that just before we go into
just those 5 points.
Yeah, just those 5 points before we go into the rest, because this is the inner transformation. This is kind of what you have to work through when you have from that initial disruption to saying, oh crap, this isn't working, this isn't my life, and I need to fix it, I need to heal from it, I need to change it, whatever it is. So what do you guys think about that? Like, how does that ring true to you?
I think I felt every single one of these at different points and times, and it can also not be a linear process. I feel like for me, I didn't realize there was a disruption. I was like, "Oh, disruption. This isn't what it's supposed to look like." So I went into like control mode, management mode. Let's manage it. Let's make it look like I think it needs to look and act. And so it meets my expectation.
That's codependency, right?
It's a lot of things.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm just sitting there going, oh my gosh, that's total codependency.
yeah.
I'm not saying that like, oh, Dannie, you were so
No,
codependent. I
I am
just was
not
like,
saying
wow, that you
that.
are spot on. I've been there myself. Wow.
Right, right. And I mean, for me, it was really the emotional and nervous system dysregulation. And it became normal for me. And so when I started to realize that I was dysregulated, there was something happening here, and that I did need to have some kind of breakthrough or support, it was really scary. Like, am I doing the right thing? Like, I couldn't make decisions because I was so dysregulated. And so for me, that was the point where, and still now, that is the point where I have to work the most, is to slow down and be present with myself and see what is present for me. And then what is the support and the tools that I might need to move myself forward. And the biggest piece right now is this reconnection to self. And I'm telling you, some of it has been wild because your system protects you. And I had this version of myself, this idea of myself, of who I was and what I'm doing in this world. And the more I get to the core of it all, the more I'm going, wow, there was so much layered on top of each other to keep me safe through this time, that now as I'm pulling it out and down and away, I'm fine. I'm discovering things that I really didn't know was there. And some of
I'm
them
glad that you're
fun.
Oh,
Yeah, well, some of them are fun and some of them are like, oh shit. Not like that.
I just was going to say, I'm glad that you're in a place where you feel safe enough to delayer all of that, because that's a journey.
It is. Thank you for that recognition.
Yeah.
Yeah, life is not linear, no matter what anybody says. You know.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
No,
No.
it's not.
Mom.
It's Jeremy Bearimy. That's what life is. If anyone does not know what that means, you need to look it up. Do you guys know what that means?
I
Jeremy
have
Bearimy?
never heard of it. I'm looking it up right now.
Look it up. Jeremy Bearimy. Oh my God. It's a good place. Look it up. Okay, so life is Jeremy Bearimy. And I say that because I'm looking at initial disruption. I'm looking
Oh,
at
okay. Got it.
Yeah. I'm looking up initial disruption, where for me, I didn't have that one sudden thing. Mine happened sometime in my life that I can't put my finger on. But I also know that there is an intentional disruption, which I also did very badly, but I still did it. And I'm not going to get into that. That's a long story. But I've had this initial disruption. I've had an intentional disruption, and gone through the whole nervous system dysregulation, had that turning point, kind of jumbled together, um, and then I had it again. I had another disruption, but I was more aware of what was happening, so I had to adjust my expectations, which is another issue. I had to adjust and I had to change how I was seeing things and what I was doing so that I can get to that turning point. to finally be able to connect to myself. So I've been hopping all around for the past few years, and I'm finally kind of bringing it all together. It's a process. It's definitely a journey. Yeah. Um, so moving on to the outer transformation. So we talked about disruption, awareness, support, self-reclamation. Now we're moving into alignment and emergence and this embodied resilience. So number 6 is an embodied or embodying new patterns, practicing emotional regulation and self-responsibility, building that capacity for discomfort and joy. Then there's also integration at number 7, making peace with the past without bypassing it. Number 8 is emergence and expression, authentic leadership and creative expression. It's like I know my purpose, or I found my purpose, and now I need to, figure out how I wish to express it. How do I need to express it? And that's sharing the wisdom. So maybe you're a teacher, you're becoming a guide, or just simply living your life as an example for other people. And the 10th one is resiliency as a way of being. So this is not just about bouncing back, but growing stronger through a challenge, having that fluidity and flexibility and that rootedness and the ability to stay connected to yourself through these changing circumstances. So I know that's a lot. That's a whole journey.
It's a solid list.
Yeah. And some people may say, hey, I didn't, I didn't respond that way, or I didn't go through that. That doesn't mean you have to go through everything in this order or at all. But trust and believe, there's a lot of people that do, and some of them definitely overlap, especially the outer transformation, because embodying new patterns and that integrating what you've learned into your life, being able to say, okay, I finally know what I want, I finally know who I am, and now maybe part of your purpose is to share that, that wisdom, that lived and learned wisdom with other people. Then you're like, okay, well, how do I do that? All of this, so that's 8 and 9. That's basically working in tandem, that you have to do that. And ultimately, it's all of you bring all of that together, your inner transformation, and you bridge it with your outer transformation to find that resiliency. And it's an ongoing process. It's not a end goal, because you're going to have to keep addressing certain things. There's conditioning all through your life. You've been programmed for your whole life for different things, and you have to slowly peel them away. So does any of that kind of hit you, or you can relate to any of those new patterns and integration wisdom?
Oh my gosh, so much of that. The thoughts that were coming up as you were talking were, there's this internal and there's this external. And the the image that I was getting in my head was when you have like cabin pressure, and there has to be this depressurizing that has to happen in order for the door to open. You can go back and forth between both and spaces. Did I say that right? Is it depressurizing?
Depressurize, yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I was thinking of when I was thinking how this is broken up into this internal transformation and this external transformation, that they both complement one another, and to be able to transfer back and forth between both spaces, to be able to navigate between both spaces, they kind of have to, the pressure on both sides needs to be compatible. That's what I was thinking about when you were talking, because you can, if you haven't done, at least I shouldn't say for everyone else, if I haven't done the internal work and I start hammering away at what's going on externally, oh boy, my nervous system is going to go berserk. It has, jumping out of a plane without a parachute, but, and vice versa. If I have done the internal work, but I don't engage with the outer world, I don't engage with, things that will help me move in that direction, like the things that like sharing the wisdom, for instance. Like if I'm thinking about how, if I'm just, um, I don't know. I guess I just, because I'm like, I don't know, it's different. Do you guys understand what I'm trying to say? I'm okay.
I kind of
Like,
saw that too, Dori. I saw this kind of like almost like an infinity sign, like it goes into the
yes,
inner world,
yes.
that pieces, and it comes out to the outer world, and that informs your inner world, and then your outer world, and there's this dance that happens, and this awareness and flow. And because, when you do some of that inner work, it might be asking to be for a new embodied pattern. It might be asking for a kind of expression, or it might be asking to be shared. And there's something very powerful in it, sharing your experience, strength, and hope with other people, because that also touches their internal world. And I think
Mm.
that there's this very deep connection between humans that I feel like is there. And, we're a collective for a reason. We are individual, but we are also a collective. And so as we do our inner work, I think that that helps other people to do it too. Like it creates a platform for that to happen. And what I've noticed with this is this whole integration, and like I'm in a space of emergence and expression, and kind of going back to where there's things I didn't know about myself. Now that I look back, like 2020, right? Hindsight's 2020. But it was like, wow, I didn't know that I liked to be a performer. I didn't know that I was a nonverbal communicator, and that movement was such an important piece of expression for me. And that touch and listening with my whole body was something, because I'd often been told that's not okay. You need to turn that off. Shut that shit down. That's
Got
not
it.
all right. And so coming into that for me and having that open, authentic expression has been magical. It's really illuminated things in me that I didn't know were there and that I didn't know I had access to. And that's part of the embodied healing for me as well. Just integrating that new pattern with the sense of play.
Mm. That's nice. I like that sense of play. Um, if I really look at the whole thing, I've gone through the inner transformation. And so what I'm working on right now is, I would say, the outer transformation in totality. Different parts, different pieces, different times. But mostly it's that sharing of the wisdom, of my experiences, having the experiences I'm supposed to have. Because there was a time where, like I said, I thought I was cursed and nothing was going right in my life. Um, so a few years ago, actually a year ago, okay, a year ago, I decided I'm not going to try anymore. I'm tired of things not working out. And yeah, that's not really the way to go either, because then you become very stagnant. I'm literally not following the way that I was designed and what I'm supposed to do and how I'm supposed to learn. And I learn like everybody through having these experiences. But for me, um, I have to have them over and over, not just to, become a master at something, at learning something, a skill or a process, but just to find something there that works for me. And then, of course, as it always happens, because I did that, because I learned a different way or better way and all of this stuff, there's someone else comes along who's like, oh, I'm going to do this, the exact same thing that I did. And I can honestly say this happened so many more times in my life. I was like, oh, no, you can't, don't do that. That's not going to work. That's just not going to work. There's a better way to do it. So I can see, I can now see that stopping myself from having those experiences, from sharing that wisdom, that knowledge, is not the way to go. It doesn't bring about resilience. So I'm still working through all of that stuff. Have I hit resilience for some things? Yes, but it's not the end. Um, it's not the end of the road, the journey. I'm still going back and working through a few things, getting better every day. But yeah, I'm the integration, the expression, sharing the wisdom, making sure that who I am, who I know myself to be, is really the way that I live my life authentically.
Hmm. I'm just looking at some of our notes here, and I've loved this discussion around resiliency and just like what it feels like to embody it. And Danny, I really love, um, like you said exactly what I was picturing, but I couldn't say the words, which was you really like it takes both, like you need both. You need the internal and the external, and there really is that back and forth flow. And um, man, that is, boy, I'm feeling that right now in my life. And I am just wondering if we can give some context to why resiliency is needed, like exploring resiliency a little bit.
So you don't drown. So you don't feel like you're perpetually cursed and that you can't move on or progress in your life and that, why was I born? All of that stuff. If nothing's going to go right, it's knowing that you can push through. Everyone is built to be able to overcome a challenge. And I know I say push through all the time, but
Mhm.
I don't mean it like, oh, just push through and, damn everything. But I mean, you have like Dana, you mentioned that wall, like let's expand it, right? So you don't hit that wall and go, oh, I can't go anywhere. I can't go any further. But it's saying, okay, this is where I'm uncomfortable, but I know that there's something more, or I know this is a challenge and I have to overcome this. Otherwise, I'm going to go back and then I'm going to suffer and I'm going to, you know, who wants to be there? So my thing is why it's important to know that we're here to grow and to learn and to expand. And that's kind of what it's about. Otherwise, why are we here if not to be resilient?
I have a piece that part of that reframing that I've done is because that was my verbiage, my behavior. Push through it, just push through it, be strong. And now what it is more is and overcome it, right? Like, okay, there's this something that I've got to like extract for myself because it's wrong or it's bad or I don't need it and I need to be rid of it. Like that's kind of how I was feeling about it. And instead I've had to, instead of push through it, stay with it, stay with it, stay with it. And accept what is happening, accept how I'm feeling and stay with it. Because what ends up happening for me in that and how that relates to resilience is that as I stay with it, the charge, like the emotional charge, goes down for me. The activation in the nervous system goes down for me. And I start to look at it as a part of me and something that I can work with versus something that I have to push past, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Um, I was just thinking about um what I was, oh gosh, how do I say this? Um, what everything that I was going through since I was really doing things for other people and the whole losing my identity, um, still living my life, but kind of like, all right, something's missing or whatever it was. And I know a lot of people feel this way. And there's something that's called narrative identity reconstruction, where you have, you're rebuilding your sense of self after major life changes, divorce, career shift, quitting your job, um, that intentional disruption, or health challenges. You know, for me, and a lot of people, it's being able to change the story that you're telling yourself and other people. That's also being resilient, and how I see it. Because yes, I've been working on myself, and yes, I'm doing that second half of that outer transformation. But part of that also is me, um, you know, reframing my life and certain things that I've done to move through and become resilient and say, hey, you know what, this didn't work, or I did this, and it's not going to it's not going to hold me back because there is a purpose for it, and I have to meet that. I have to meet that challenge and overcome it.
Yeah, talking about that identity. Say the term one more time.
Narrative identity reconstruction, or adaptive. It's also called adaptive identity reconstruction.
Yeah, I actually sat here, talking about hiccups and hot flashes, right? And I'm thinking about the hot flashes. And I remember in my 30s, I had heard about the decades,
Mm.
the 40s, the 50s, the 60s. and how they, how they're rough, and then like one decade is hard, but then the next one gets better, and then the next one is way better. But no one told me how hard 40 was going to be. No one told me how hard the 40s were going to be. I mean, talk about adaptive identity reconstruction.
Mm.
I That was rough, and I feel like I'm still coming out of it, and I know I'm not alone because I talk to other women who I'm not necessarily talking to them about this, but I'm listening to them process through some of their own life changes. And I'm like, that I can relate to that. I didn't know this was something that we had in common, like that more of us had in common. And so just even hormonally, like you don't have to have like biology, right? I feel like I'm saying that word wrong, but anyways, the it doesn't have to be a career move or a loss in like a family member or a friend. It doesn't have to be that. Um, it can simply be your body stops functioning the way it has always functioned. And if the things that you have done were what you were, I mean, I think for me, I identified myself as someone who could do it all. Literally, I built the plane in the air. I walked and I talked everywhere I went, doing 100 things at the same time. That was me. Still kind of is. But when I had to stop and pull back because my health couldn't handle it, it was very, very difficult. Um, I don't want to say I didn't recognize myself, but I did not like it at all. I didn't like it. And my body, um, like I really had to like it was a slamming of the brakes for me. And I can look back and see pictures and I can excuse me, I can see the stress after like the other day I was looking at pictures and I saw some from 4 years ago and I was like, "Oh wow. I've been carrying a lot of like I didn't know how much stress there was
Mm.
back then." So, just kind of interesting, just the whole it can just be a hormonal thing too.
Midlife, or I'm putting quotes, midlife, because what's
Yeah.
midlife? You can have those hormonal changes, those biological changes, late 30s to honestly probably 60 these years. It expands. It's no longer, it should no longer be a midlife thing
Yeah, and
because
it doesn't just affect you.
exactly.
No one told me that. Not that they needed to, but yes. Anyway, sorry, didn't mean to
But no,
interrupt.
they really should. That's the thing that's
Yeah.
not being, explained or taught. It's like, you know, first of all, especially if we're talking about women, who are we listening to? Men. What have men done, in the medical field? Oh, we'll look at men to talk about women. That doesn't work because men and women's bodies are totally different. So it took a long time to get them out of that, idea of, oh, we're going to look at this through one point of view to talk about this. And it's like, no, it's just like menopause or perimenopause or all this other stuff. I was actually a little shocked that, and I don't know why. I'm getting it now, but I was like, why don't women know about menopause or perimenopause?
Well, Oprah has started that conversation and
A
I'm loving
lot,
it.
yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
people have started that conversation, and I think maybe a lot of people have heard Halle Berry's crazy story about it, and I'm just like, but I know about it. Then I realized, I don't know all of the details. I don't, and then you look at a list of symptoms. I'm like, I've had them pretty much all my life. So, if I was 10 or 12, I wasn't in perimenopause. Okay, when I was at 20, this and that. But that goes to show you how we're living, conditioned, and programmed based on society and our environment, and we really have to figure out who we are and just understand, reconstruct our whole identity and talk to the people and inform them so they can inform other people.
Yeah, that just it speaks to how powerful our physiology really is, I think.
It ain't changing.
And it ain't change. Yeah. Well, I mean, and I think if I as I look back in retrospect around like raising my children and just, life from like 20 to 40, like my hormones were all over the place, all over the place. And they were reacting and responding to my environment, which I didn't understand. I just thought,
Mhm.
okay, this is just what we go through. And I didn't know there was something different.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so I just sucked it up and pushed
This
forward.
is just how it is.
That's how it is.
Yeah.
Look at me being resilient over here.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Hey, so I know we want to talk about some other things too, and just so this conversation doesn't go too long for everyone, um, we're gonna kind of press pause a little bit and shift gears. So I do want everyone to know that we are, like I said, we're going to keep the conversation going. We're going to talk about resilience versus tolerance. We're going to really explore how one kind of, what am I trying to say? How one affects the other, especially with tolerance, and whether it's accepting, being accepting to things around you. Anyway, we're going to explore resilience and tolerance, and we're also going to look at understanding inner authority and what a yes feels like in our body. We're also going to touch on a little bit about design, human design, and inner authority in that respect too. But just know that we're really just getting started. We have a lot more to say, but we don't want to overwhelm anybody watching this. But I do want to leave you with a few key messages. That resiliency is a practice, it's not a destination. We've talked about that. It's not a one and done. Know that your story matters, even if you're still writing it. And there's no shame in needing time to bounce back, because you can think you're done, but life, the universe will have other plans for you. And sometimes the most resilient thing you can do is rest, which is what we don't get enough of.
Rest is an
So,
action.
yes, it
What is
is.
that? What is rest?
Exactly. And then how does rest look like for each person? That's something too. So with that said, look, wherever you are in your arc, wherever you are in the thick of your whole life hiccup, your disruption, your interruption, your disconnection, whatever it is, if you're finding your voice again, or you're finally feeling steady, just know that it's all a process. Everyone goes through this at some point in their life. So I now invite you to take a look at the 10-point arc of resilience, or listen to our breakdown again, or, what we were talking about. And if you can see if you find yourself in that resiliency arc, um, and where you're still working through. Are you in the inner transformation? Have you graduated to this outer transformation? Um, and just let us know, if this conversation helped, helped you name something in your journey. Leave us a comment, and share this podcast if there's someone that you know that would benefit from hearing about all this stuff. But like I said, there's more to come, and we look forward to talking with you. So, do you ladies have any parting words?
The only thought I was going to say is in regards to tolerance and resilience, just so that there's some context there. I think there's a lot of blind spots. People think that like tolerance can be a type of resilience, but it can also be a space where we self-betray ourselves. And that's more the side that we're going to talk about in the coming, in one of the episodes coming up. So just wanted to give that clarification. And I'm really looking forward to this. I completely forgot what I was going to say. Something about
Awesome.
some feelings that I've had about resiliency in the last little bit. But yeah. Anyways, I'm excited about this conversation. I think it's important to have right now.
Awesome. I agree. My idea of tolerance is not resilience. I think it undermines resilience, but we can get into that later.
Yeah.
Which we will. But anyway, okay. Dannie, speak now. Forever hold your peace.
I'm gonna forever hold my peace.
Awesome. Cool. Okay.
Not
Thank you.
forever. For
Not
now.
forever. All right. All right. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Take care. Bye.